Hello and welcome students. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the forces between two parallel infinitely long straight current carrying conductors because of the current flowing in the conductor. As we all know that when the current flows in a conductor, here produces one magnetic field. So if two conductors are placed parallel to each other, so that time how the force will produce, how they will affect each other, that we are going to discuss now. So here in front of you we have two conductors. This is conductor 1, this is conductor 2. They both are straight conductors and they are placed parallel to each other. Okay, here you can see the conductors are infinitely long and the amount of current which is flowing in the conductors are I1 and I2, and the direction of current is same in both the conductors, and these conductors are separated by a distance small r between them. So now because of this current I1 here produces one magnetic field. Okay, this is the direction of magnetic field. When the current is going in upward direction, here this is the direction of magnetic field, and because of this second conductor, here current I2 is flowing. Because of this is the magnetic field produced. Okay, now the magnetic field produced here because of I1, this we call as B1. Okay, this magnetic field B1 tries to apply some force on I2. As we have already discussed that if any current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, the magnetic field applies some force on that conductor. Okay, because of this first conductor, here current I1 is flowing. So because of this current I1, here a field B1 will produce, and that field will apply some force on conductor 2 in which current I2 is flowing. Okay, in the similar manner, what happened in second conductor, that is conductor 2, also current I2 is flowing. So there also some magnetic field will be produced, and that magnetic field B2, this one, will apply some force on conductor I1. So that means because of both the conductors, two fields will be produced here, and both the fields will apply force on other conductors. Okay, the field produced on conductor I1 will apply force on second conductor. The field which is produced because of I2, that will apply force on first conductor. And here you can see because both the conductors are having current in same direction, so the direction of field is also same, and that's why here one kind of attraction force will be there. Okay, this is current F21. This force F21 is the force on second conductor because of field B1. Okay, so because of this conductor, one field is produced here which is trying to pull the second conductor towards itself. Similarly, here you can see it will be F12. Okay, it should be F12. It is the force produced on one because of field B2, and it tries to pull first conductor towards second conductor. So like that, here we can see that both the forces are trying to attract the other conductors. So here attraction force will be produced. Now let us see mathematically what is the value, what is the amount of that force produced by first conductor. It is B1 equals to mu naught I1 upon 2 pi r, and this we have got from Biot-Savart law. So the magnetic Lorentz force F21 This is the force exerted on second conductor because of field B1 will be I2 L2 into B1. Okay. Here why we have taken I2? Because on this current the force is applied, on this length the force is applied. So that's why I2 L2 into B1 we take. Now here between L and B one angle is there which is of 90 degree. So L cross B can be written as LB sine theta. In place of theta we put 90 degree. Okay, so we get sine 90 equals to 1. And when we put the value of B1 here, which is this one, and rearrange this, okay, so we can get I2 L2 into mu naught I1 upon 2 pi r. This is the force applied on the whole conductor, okay, whole second conductor by field B1. If we want to find out the force acting in per unit length only, so we can divide it by length. Okay, so force per unit length we can get. So for force acting per unit length, F2 equals to F21 upon L2. Dividing it by L2 we get this equation, mu naught I1 I2 upon 2 pi r. In the similar manner, if we try to find out the force per unit length between two long parallel straight current carrying conductor, okay, the force applied by second field on first conductor, we will get same formula like this. Okay, and that you try to solve. If you follow the same manner, so F1 also we get this much. So we can say that one general equation can be written like this. Okay, if any two parallel conducting plates or conductor is there in which magnetic field is produced, so because of that magnetic field the force applied on other conductor will be equals to this one. This is the general formula of that force, which is F equals to mu naught I1 I2 upon 2 pi r. This force is clearly directly proportional to I1 into I2. So more the current flowing in the conductor, more will be the force. Okay, and the direction of force depends on the direction of current on both the conductors. As in previous figure we have seen that I1 and I2 both were flowing in same direction, so there is attraction force between the plates. But if suppose I1 and I2 are having different direction, so here like this figure you can see I1 is going upward, I2 is downward. So here you can see different, okay, F12 and F21, they are in opposite direction. So here the plates will go away from each other, hence repulsion will be there. So if the flow of current is opposite in both the conductors, so the conductors will repel each other. Now if in this formula we put I1 and I2 equals to 1 ampere, R, that is the separation between the plate, as 1 meter, and mu naught upon, sorry, the value of mu naught is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. This is the value of mu naught. So when we put all that values, we get F equals to 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton meter. Okay. So here we can give definition of ampere in terms of magnetic force. Two infinitely long straight parallel conductors are said to carry 1 ampere current each if they interact each other with a force of 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter when kept 1 meter apart in vacuum. With Biot-Savart law, one more important law is there which is related to magnetic field. It is called Ampere's circuital law. For electric field, when we discuss about the force between two charges, there is one law, Coulomb's law. Similarly, when we are talking about magnetic field, we have Biot-Savart law. Coulomb's law and Biot-Savart law are for electric field and magnetic field. Similarly, for magnetic field, for electric field, when we have to find out the electric field strength for a closed circuit, we have Gauss's law. Similarly, in case of magnetic field, we have Ampere's circuital law. As Gauss's law is applicable in closed circuit, similarly Ampere's circuital law is also applicable for closed circuit, but in case of magnetic field. Okay, so Coulomb law is similar to Biot-Savart law, and Gauss's law is similar to Ampere's circuital law. So now see the statement. It states that the line integral of magnetic field B over the closed loop coinciding with the boundary of a surface is mu naught times the total current through the surface. So that means if suppose, so for this Ampere circuital law, suppose we have a closed loop like this in which current I is flowing. Okay, so the total field associated with this closed loop will be equals to mu naught times the current flowing in the loop. Okay, now let's discuss its proof. So here in front of you, this is the figure which I have explained. So in this figure, the magnetic field due to the current carrying conductor at point P, okay, this is one point P, this is the current flowing in the conductor, this one. This is the current flowing in the conductor and this is the closed path. In this closed path, we have taken one point P at a distance r from the conductor. At this point P, the magnetic field due to the current carrying conductor is according to Biot-Savart law given by this equation, mu naught I upon 2 pi r. Now because dl is very small, okay, very small length element of circular closed path at source P, and B is the magnetic field at P. Okay, B is same everywhere on this circular path and acts tangentially at every point such that the angle between B and dl is always 0. So if we have to find out surface line integral of B dl, see dot product is there. These are two vectors and this is the dot product. So we will write it as B dl cos theta. Now because here between B and dl the angle is always 0, so in place of theta we put 0 degree and cos 0 is 1, so we get B dl only. Okay, now see integration of B dot dl we got as B dl. B is constant, so it will come out, and here the integration of dl will be there. When we integrate dl, okay, so integration of dl means perimeter of the closed path, and here the closed path is in circular form, so perimeter of circle is 2 pi r, and when we put value of B, it is mu naught I upon 2 pi r. So this 2 pi r and this 2 pi r get cancelled and we have only mu naught into I. So this proves Ampere's circuital law. Okay, to prove this law, what we have taken? We have first find out the value of B according to Biot-Savart law. Then we integrated B dot dl because it is dot product, so it will be written as B dl cos theta. Here the angle between B and dl is 0 degree. So cos 0 is 1, so we got this equation. B is constant, we take it out. When we integrate dl, we get 2 pi r. When we put value of B, mu naught I upon 2 pi r, this 2 pi r get cancelled and we got mu naught into I. So here we have proved the Ampere's circuital law, that for any closed circuit, B dot dl is equals to mu naught I. Now by applying this law, we can find out the magnetic field for different conductors. So now let's see what is the application of Ampere's circuital law. So in the very first application, we see magnetic field due to a steady current flowing through a toroidal solenoid. Now what is a solenoid, that you all know? Okay, if any wire is made turn in heliaxial form, Okay, so it is called a solenoid. When the solenoid is then bent in such a form that it make a circle. Okay, this is the turns of solenoid. When these turns of solenoids are bent in such a manner that they make a circle, so it is called toroid. Okay, toroidal solenoid, or simply toroid it is called. So a solenoid bent round in the form of a closed circular ring is called a toroid. Here r is the distance from the center of the toroid to the point P where we will find out the magnetic field. Here B, this is the magnetic field here. Okay, I is the current flowing in the toroid. And suppose in this toroid n number of turns are there. When we apply Ampere's circuital law in the toroid, so B into dl equals to mu naught into total current passing through the circle. Now, in case of one single loop, the amount of current is I. Because in the toroid total n number of turns are there, so total current here will be n into I. Okay, and B into dl we get as B into 2 pi r. B into 2 pi r equals to mu naught into Ni. If we transport 2 pi r here, we get this equation, mu naught n upon 2 pi r into I. Now, n upon 2 pi r is the number of turns per unit length of the solenoid. See, n is the total turns in the solenoid and 2 pi r is the perimeter. So, total number of turns upon total length equals to total turns per unit length. So, here this is the total number of turns upon this is the total length. So, n upon 2 pi r is the number of turns per unit length, and this is denoted by small n. So, in place of n upon 2 pi r, we can simply put small n. So, here we get this equation, B equals to mu naught Ni. So, by applying this Ampere's circuital law here, we have find out the magnetic field B because of the toroid. And we can say that the magnetic field B inside the toroid is constant and is directed tangential to the circular closed path. Outside the toroid, the field B is nearly zero. Why? Because outside the toroid, I equals to 0. Okay, the current is flowing in the toroid only. Outside it, I equals to 0. When we put it here, B becomes 0. And it is important to note that B does not depend on the diameter of the length of the solenoid. Okay, so B does not depend on diameter, that is radius. B only depends on two things, that is number of turns per unit length and current flowing in the toroid. So if more current is flowing in the toroid, more magnetic field will be produced. If more number of turns per unit length is there, see, it is the number of turns per unit length. We are not discussing here the total turns. Total number of turns is some other thing. Okay, and total number of turns per unit length when we are talking, that means we are talking about the density of the turns. If in that particular length more number of turns are there, then the amount of magnetic field will be more. Similarly, Ampere's circuital law can be used to determine the magnetic field due to different toroids, solenoids and more other kind of shapes that we will discuss in next lecture. For today, this is it. See you in next lecture. Till then, goodbye, take care, do some productive work, and the most important thing, be healthy, be safe. And one more thing, students, that whatever you are studying here, you must start preparing the notes for that. You all, I think, have bought SL Aurora for physics. Okay, so you start making notes from that and starts practice the deriving part. Okay, whatever derivations we are studying here, you must start practicing that, because anytime we can announce midterm examination, and in midterm examination I think that will be now conceptual. So you start your practice. All the best. Have a good day.